Finding Tops by Joyce Vernon of North Tamworth, 2340. Read by Lex Marinos. Tapengwa. His friends call him Tops. We also thought this 11-year-old was Tops. The year was 2019, and we were staying at a large lodge just outside Hwange National Park in Zimbabwe. After a full day of safari into the NP the previous day, we had a quieter day looking around at local community projects. As we were driving out of the lodge, we saw a bunch of local people waiting on the main road. Among this group was Tops, who wasn't related to anyone or really with them. He held a white plastic bucket covered with a cloth. Our guide, Jabulani, pulled up the 4x4 bus and went to see what Tops was selling, and inquired as to why he wasn't in school. He came back and explained that this was quite a sad story. He invited Tops over to show us the two types of bush fruits he had in his bucket. One was a dark brown with shiny smooth skin and tasted like chocolate. The other, the size of a walnut with furry skin and tasted like dried fig. Fortunately, we didn't know the local name translated to snot fruit until we'd finished tasting the fruit. After chewing for a while, it became very slimy. Tops told Jabulani that he was selling the fruit to keep his family. He said he couldn't go to school because they didn't have money to pay school fees. He lived with Grandma and 7 other orphans. So this little guy seemed to be the family breadwinner. We gave him a lift nearer the entrance of the NP, where he thought he would have better chance of selling his fruit. Jabulani made a plan with Tops to meet up later in the day, and we would go with him to his school to negotiate getting him back into class. We continued on with our various community activities. Jabulani and I went to a grocery shop in Deti, a small village where we purchased some basic groceries for Tops' grandma and classroom essentials for the boy. After lunch, we went to the place we had arranged to meet Tops, but he wasn't there. Armed with the shopping, we set off in the direction of the school, which was at least 15 kilometres away. At a busy crossroads village, Jabulani found 2 uncles, who joined us in the bus and showed the way to Tops' school. Once at the school, Jabulani and I met the principal and 2 staff in an office, while our other guests went on a school tour. We could tell that the principal and 2 other lady teachers were a little unsympathetic about Tops' situation. Their story was that he could not be expelled for non-payment of school fees, but had been expelled for non-attendance at school for 7 days in a row. That's the rules. So Jabulani spoke in Shona and English. I pleaded quoting the UN rights of the child. Moments like this we find ourselves pulling our big girl undies right up to the armpits and digging deep. Amazingly, Tops appeared, from where we don't know, but he had his empty bucket. We calculated that he'd travelled at least 40 kilometres that day. There are few vehicles around there, and the safaris lodges don't give locals a lift in their 4x4s, so we think he ran and walked with a hole the size of an orange in his oversized sand shoes. Jabulani asked Tops to sit on the floor at his feet. When we could see we were making some progress with Mr. Principal, Jabulani spoke in Shona to Tops. I noticed Jabulani touch his khaki shorts and also pointed to his bus, khaki in colour, then made an action of cutting his own throat. At this, the staff all giggled behind their hands. Jabulani had told Tops that we had worked very hard to get him back to school. Jabulani told Tops he was an army man, and if he didn't go every day, he, Jabulani, would kill him. That night we all said, "Oh my God, that was tough." But as Jabulani explained, this kid needs an education. We negotiated hard to get him back into school, and he has no male role models in his life. Jabulani told Tops that he could be a businessman on Saturday and Sunday, as he was obviously very good at that, but school the other 5 days, and the headmaster would take a photo every day and send to us so we knew he was attending. We paid his next term school fees of US $12. I bought him some school shoes in Zambia, and Jabulani organised for them to get to him. After we left the school, we took Tops and the two uncles to Grandma's, up and down creek banks on a rarely used bush track for 5 kilometres, further on than the school, in the absolute middle of nowhere. When we arrived, there was a bunch of kids, but no sign of Grandma. She came through the bushes soon after with a baby on her back and water bucket on her head. She'd been fetching water for the family. Poor Grandma. She must have nearly died when she saw an army-coloured bus full of white people and our wonderful local guide. She was overwhelmed and obviously very moved when we presented the food. It was basic, but must have been like Christmas to this isolated family. One of our group heard that this dumping kids on Grandma is quite common in Zimbabwe. The young people see better opportunities for themselves in the towns and cities and may send home money once they get employment, or may not. We just loved travelling there, and this was a very special day, interacting with the local community. Diversity at its best. The end.